Thank you, Jonathan, for the kind invitation to join you here today. And can I begin by saying that the Scottish Socialist Party is proud to be part of this wonderful occasion, this wonderful celebration of ideas and this progressive independence movement. In this session this morning, examining the failure of British capitalism and its state, is perhaps a gentle start to a day that we all hope, I'm sure, is productive above all in helping us to identify the solutions to that failure and delivering a programme and strategy for transformational change that can find a mass support base in Scotland today. Scotland benefits from a strong, successful UK and has done for 300 years. So why change? This is the message of the No campaign. And it's a message that I'm familiar with both as a board member of the Yes Scotland campaign and having spent the last month debating with Labour MPs in a series of meetings organised by the Communication Workers Union as part of its membership consultation on the independence referendum. And I inevitably put the question that every single last one of you would put: what successful UK are you referring to? Because the Scottish working class, who make up the overwhelming majority of the population of this country, do not benefit. In fact, we are held back by the United Kingdom. Our standard of living today is in steep decline. Our bills are rising as our incomes plunge, despite repeatedly being told that we're through the worst economic recession in 80 years. Scotland is one of the richest countries in the world, and yet we continue to endure searing poverty, a health epidemic caused by that poverty, a chronic affordable housing shortage, and life expectancy rates in parts of this city that compare only with the third world. Our lives are blighted by casualisation and super-exploitation at work. Our pensions are under threat. We face widening inequalities, the privatisation of essential public services, and our children face a worse future than their parents. And our political rights are denied us too, as Scotland's social democratic aspirations to avoid the hateful and exploitative policies of the United Kingdom are repeatedly thwarted by a neoliberal financial elite at Westminster and the City of London. Conference, this is a systemic failure rather than the mistaken policies of this or that government. And the systemic economic and political failure is down to a system that's based on the exploitation of the many by the few. The rich, via their ownership of capital, exploit those of us who must sell our labour on a daily basis simply to survive. And the constancy of that relationship means that the poor achieve relief from brutal exploitation only by organising themselves and fighting back. British neoliberalism is amongst the most exploitative in the world. And Conference, other people in the platform have already mentioned the chilling child poverty that sees 1 in 3 children in this city suffer deprivation. The food banks today that are the modern day equivalent of the soup kitchens of the 30s. The 0-hour contracts and vicious exploitation of our young people, as Saffron mentioned. But I wish to allocate the short time available to me to attest that Britain's inability to provide gas and electricity to 1/4 of the households in the United Kingdom indicates an equally profound sign of failure in this country today. Because the particular misery of fuel poverty that has developed into the political perfect storm of our time illustrates vividly this systemic failure at the heart of UK PLC. Conference, gas and electricity bills have doubled in the last 6 years. But our wages haven't, our pensions haven't, our benefits haven't. And consequently, Scotland now has 1 million households, 1/3 of the total, now living in fuel poverty, spending more than 10% of their income on keeping warm. That's up from 200,000 in 2004. And I want to use this conference to say one thing to those million families across Scotland shivering away again today. Your fuel poverty is not your fault. Your fuel poverty is a failure of the system to deliver an essential service to you. How can it be your fault when the poorest face the highest tariffs? How can it be your fault when 6 power companies made declared profits at £6 to £8 billion between them last year? How can it be your fault when the government expects 27,000 people to die of cold-related diseases this winter? That's not your fault. That's their fault, and their system has to change. It's a perfect example of systemic failure, and we have to ensure that the system is changed. And I say to you, the political response of our representatives at Westminster reminds me an awful lot of Queen Marie Antoinette. As you'll remember from the French Revolution, when she faced those starving for the want of a slice of bread, she said, "Let them eat cake." Such was the contempt. And it's chilling, I have to tell you, that this week the National Audit Office predicted that gas and electricity bills will rise above the rate of inflation for a further 17 years, conference. And I say to you today that this Radical Independence Conference must deliver the promise to the people of Scotland to eradicate fuel poverty in this energy-rich country of ours once and for all. In conference, let's be clear, that means returning the gas and electricity supply industry in this country to public ownership to ensure that no one is left behind in the cold and 21st century Scotland. Now, conference, the last point I wish to make is Margot MacDonald said this week that independence is not a policy, it's a mechanism for delivering policy. And I think that's right. Independence offers the people of Scotland a route around British failure. And of course, as Dennis mentioned, Dennis, Patrick and myself will point out when we welcome the SNP government's white paper on Tuesday, as I'm sure we all will do, but we will also point out that other visions of independence are also available. For the vision that merely replaces the saltire flag above the corporate headquarters instead of the Union Jack, that lets financial corporate crooks do their worst with impunity, that lets lackeys remain in charge, telling us how they doubt anything could be done to change things and how long it will take. Well, that's not my vision of independence, because it doesn't address the fundamental failures in our society. Independence is the progressive option in this referendum, because above all it offers change, a chance to replace the neoliberal elite with honest social democratic aspirations of the majority. Independence is a profound opportunity, as Margot rightly says. It's the key that allows us to break free of the handcuffs of the British ruling class in their political prison. They are steadfastly opposed to independence, of course, because it shakes the very foundations of their power structure, influence and control. Me, I'm in favour of an independent socialist Scotland that's a modern democratic republic where we, the working class majority, are in charge of our own country and our own destiny at last. Conference, be prepared for the fight of your lives in the next 10 months as they defend their power and privilege from attack, and we mobilise the people of Scotland for change. Thank you very much.